Okay, so I'm back, and I just spontaneously decided to maybe have a bit of a new format. So I wasn't originally going to do this, but the second game was honestly really interesting, and then it made me think it could be interesting to do something like this as well. So for educational reasons, like I remember when I got into random battles, I used to watch other YouTubers, and that's how I got good at the game really fast, and you can do it as well. I think honestly it took me less than a couple of months to get hit the leaderboard, so top 500 or something probably of playing. So yeah, it's really not that complicated, but you have to learn it, and a lot of people don't know what they're doing. They have no idea. And yeah, sure, it requires some intelligence here and there and whatever, but okay, so I'm gonna try to teach you a little bit about the game by analyzing games like this, and so we'll go over the game a little bit for those who didn't watch the original video if you're just interested in this educational content. So this is from the first episode I uploaded of the climb to rank 1, whatever. We'll see if it happens. But so the second game was really interesting, and I wanted to have a very in-depth strategical look into this. So I'm not gonna let the entire game play out. If you want to see that, just go watch the original video. I will just be looking at key strategic moments, and then I will go really into the deep details. So if you're not the kind for that, just don't watch. Okay, so let's look at turn one. Turn one is always the first major key moment in a game, of course, and so, if you remember the video, if you've seen it, I immediately say my team is fucking garbage when I look at this. So why is that? Now let's take a look at that. Uh, I have a very mediocre win con. I have precisely one way to win the game, and it is very mediocre with the Pokemon that I have access to. So you will see I have no hazards. I have no walls because my Pokemon that can tank decently well, which are this Assault Vest, Houndstone, and my Garter, they have no way of recovering HP reliably. Okay, I have Drain Punch on Garter, but that's very unreliable. Volbeat is not a proper wall. It dies to a lot of shit, yeah, including the Siren Thorns. So yeah, basically I cannot wall. So going for a winning overtime strategy is not amazing. This Earthworm can potentially wall if he has no special attackers at all. It doesn't really end up working great this game, you'll see. So that's basically not going to happen most likely. It depends on the opposing team, of course, but that's unlikely. So that's something you have to note. So even if you can wall, you see I have no hazard, so I don't really gain anything from that. So yeah, what's left really is I have to actually break through. I have to win by breaking through the enemy team. So if you look at my team, what's going to break through? I have a Charizard with Swords Dance. I have a Volbeat with the standard set. I have a utility standard set on Morpeko with Parting Shot and Rapid Spin. The Squirtle does have Bulk Up, that's very good, and I have Swords Dance on Charizard. So those are the only two things that I have that really have much offensive power at all, and they are both very mediocre. Gordo can definitely win in the right game, but Charizard is so underwhelming. It's Swords Dance, Flare Blitz, Earthquake, Terra Ground, and Outrage. Houndstone is Assault Vest, so it's also not gonna do anything really. So, yeah, we look at my team, I have exactly one way to win, which is breaking through, and I do not really have good wall breakers. That's something you need to note immediately. That's why I said my team is bad. So now let's see what happens. The second key strategic element is, well, I see this Vile Plume, obviously, that's a problem, but skip ahead a little bit. Okay, this right here. A Rapid Spin on the Articuno, he switches out, of course. So this is where I know I am extra fucked. Okay, so, and why is that? Let's think a little bit. A little pop quiz here. I won't take it away immediately. Maybe just pause the video and think about that. Like, what is this situation? What are your thoughts on this situation? Basically, if you know what you're doing, this situation, it looks very, very grim. So this Umbreon and the Vileplume, they're both two walls. I lack proper wall breakers, and if you examine my exact tools that I have to break through this defense that my opponent has, all that stuff that beats Umbreon loses very hard to Vileplume and the other way around. So this Umbreon I can beat with Girder. I can potentially beat it with wall beat, but it's not amazing. Houndstone, by the way, does no damage really. It's like 30% with body press or play rough. So that's definitely not beating the Umbreon. Just Wishes and Toxics and whatever. And Charizard also loses to Umbreon. If I can Sword Stance before the Umbreon switches in, I deal like 70 to 80 if I remember correctly, something like that with the Flare Blitz, and then I'll die to Recoil and Foul Play or be in like single digit HP. Yeah, so what do you do in this situation? Gotta think. Yeah, maybe I'll give you some time here as well. And I'll tell you also, a lot of players would give up here. Well, okay, a lot of players wouldn't recognize the situation they're in anyway, and I do end up losing this game. It's a really, really hard game for me. But if I had played optimally, it's not an unlosable game. I did say that in the video. So what do you do? Just think about it for a second, maybe pause the video, and then I'll explain it. Alright, so my response to that is if you just look at the situation right now, we have a huge problem because I seriously cannot really do a thing about this. My only way of killing this Umbreon is basically sacrificing my Charizard, which is the only thing that beats this guy's Vileplume. So you'd think, okay, I'm just screwed because this guy, if he just switches between his walls optimally or just plays his strategy optimally, there's pretty much absolutely nothing I can do in this game to win. So that's why you need to bluff in these situations. That's also, I think you should realize, by the way, if you're like 1500 ELO, this video will not help you. This is like if you're maybe rank 500 and you want to know what differentiates you from a rank 1 player. This is very advanced stuff. You will absolutely not need this like 99% of players, just for the ones who want to get really good. So in these situations, you have to bluff. If you are in a situation where you recognize early on, and this is exactly why you always need to be thinking and reassessing your strategy, you know, the dynamic macro strategic analysis and readjustment of your strategy. If you recognize earlier than your opponent that you are in a situation where you basically cannot do anything if both players play optimally and you will guaranteed lose, then you will just need to trick your opponent into making some kind of play that will make it possible for you to win again. So I need this guy to either sacrifice his Umbreon or sacrifice his Vileplume. So the stupidest thing I could do right now is to go to some kind of Pokemon that will make it apparent to him that one of these two Pokemon is extremely valuable for him. So if I remember correctly, I actually end up using Parting Shot and then go to Girder or something. Because I think, oh yeah, he's gonna probably Toxic and then I can proc my Guts or whatever. Now that is a very low IQ play, you do not want to do that. So the second I go to Garter, think about this guy's perspective. What does he know? He knows there's a threat to Umbreon and Vileplume beats it. Now he will never let go of this Vileplume. He will never let go of this Vileplume and I'm fucked. I cannot win the game anymore. Now let's see what I do here. Yep, there we go, and that is the game-losing play. I mean, not just that, but you know. So what I'm telling myself is, okay, I go to Gorder, like, what's the best I can get out of this situation? Once I see what he does, I think he ends up just using foul play. Okay, it's taking a bit long. Yeah, so he just foul plays this. It's not toxic like I was hoping. So yeah, and I know he's just gonna go to Vileplume. I'm thinking like the best thing I can make out of this situation while I'm on Morpeko, right? I think I'm gonna get either Toxic on this Garter or okay, whatever, foul play. Maybe he would double. So in this situation, I know the best I can get out of this is just knocking off the Vileplume. It has leftovers and okay, like maybe Volbeat can do something to it without leftovers, who knows? That was what I was thinking. I was trying to knock off the leftovers, and I saw that as making progress towards breaking his walls, even though it's not, because now he's going to really want to hold on to those walls that I really cannot actually beat. So I'm gonna wait a little for the stuff to go away. So yeah, basically my bluff strategy is gone now. Let's go to some kind of thing where you can see the team. Okay, so I cannot really bluff my way out of this anymore. So in this game it was really difficult to bluff because I don't necessarily have something that would allow me to bluff, but in general there are a lot of situations like this where you can bluff, like simply pretend you do not care about this Umbreon that comes in or the Vileplume. Do not, absolutely whatever you do, do not make it seem obvious that it's a high priority for you to get rid of these Pokemon. Sometimes people will actually sack them because they think they psychoanalyzed you, and based on how you're playing, you don't have this or that. And I did that as well, like with the Orthworm, for example. At the start, he stealth rocked on my Orthworm, so I thought, okay, this cannot be that valuable. He can't be so threatened by it, right? You do that stuff all the time if you're high elo, and you can't always know what's happening. Bluffing is a very effective strategy. Now, however, let's say I can't bluff, and to be honest, now I don't think I should have gone to Girder, but like really bluffing my way out of this is going to be difficult. So what can I do alternatively? So let's go forward a little, let's have a look. I can tell you what I can do. And okay, so the only way I can make progress here is Charizard, right? I can trade my Charizard for Umbreon, and then yeah, I kinda have nothing that beats Vileplume, so I'm kinda fucked at that point. But it's the only way I can make progress right now. So basically, I could have double switched earlier, by the way. So when the on the Girder play, when I went to Girder and he had his Umbreon in, and I decided to knock this Vileplume, I could have double switched immediately on that turn, but I ended up making the exact same thing. I was in on Morpeko here against Articuno, and he's obviously gonna switch to the Umbreon. So I don't double switch because I can parting shot, and it does effectively the same thing. But yeah, so this is where I decide to go for the Charizard play, where I just basically sack this. So you go to this, I have to Sword Stance on Umbreon. Guess I'll let it play out so you can see the calcs on the right. Already checking here. So ISD, right, you can see it's like around 70 to 80 foul play, and I'll take Flare Blitz Recoil. So now, in this situation, and I really didn't play this game optimally, of course, right, but if I had played optimally in this situation, what do I do again? Now, this is another point in time now where it's like a third key strategic moment. At this point, you know for sure the bluffing strategy is out the window. He will never sacrifice Umbreon or Vileplume foolishly. It's just not going to happen at this point, so I actually have to force it, and he's gonna presumably play somewhat optimally against it, and I just have to like forcefully break through with whatever means I have. And the only means of doing that is this Charizard, which is a shit wall breaker, but that's the hand I was dealt, and you have to turn even the disadvantageous matchups into wins if you want to get to rank 1. So if I Flare Blitz this, I will die, right? Well, let's let it play out. I Flare Blitz. That's what I did. Does a lot of damage, and then I take Foul Play, and I'm basically dead. So yeah, we're in this situation now, and then yeah, I actually thought he would switch out, so I clicked Outrage here, but whatever, he ended up sacking his Umbreon. Let's see that. Okay, so this guy just stays in on Outrage, and it was actually only 50% to kill, but also that's another thing, by the way, if you're behind, if you're having a rough matchup, it's good to introduce as much variance as possible, whereas if you're the one in the lead, which he's not like Pokemon-wise, but he's obviously in the lead as in he has an extremely good matchup into me. Then you wanna have a very controlled environment where you really limit the effects of RNG or 50/50s and mind games and all that stuff. Just as much chaos as possible when you're behind, unless you're a significantly better player, and the other way around, of course, but that's a side topic, that's not what it's about here. So let's think about this Umbreon situation. Now, I don't know if you know what's coming next, but what's coming next would have probably trivialized what I'm about to say now, but I don't know that. I see what I see right now. So he is going to go to a Pokemon that outspeeds Charizard and makes even the alternative thing I could have done entirely futile. However, in this situation, I clicked Flare Blitz and I lost so much HP because I could not have called without Rage, and I did not want to commit my Terra Ground because I did not know if it would actually win the game. So he has 2 unrevealed Pokemon, and what should I have done in this situation? If I flare blitz, I basically auto lose. I'm 4% HP, can go Vile Plume, I have to flare blitz. Okay, he just switches, I don't know, to Iron Thorns or some random thing he doesn't need my Charizard instead, and now I cannot beat Vile Plume and I get 5-0'd by it. That's the situation I have to avoid here, while also taking out the Umbreon, because if I don't take out the Umbreon, then I get, I guess, 6-0'd or 5-0'd or whatever by that. At least in combination with the Vileplume. It's just a combination of the two walls, or just Vileplume while I don't have my Charizard. Either of the two just completely nukes my team. I have to deal with it. So what I should have done is okay, the only out of this is Terastalize and then Earthquake to 2-hit KO, and then I could have at least kept like 30% of my HP, which would have been a better spot. No, I didn't do that because there's uncertain information here, and so my Volbeat is useless, my Houndstone is useless. What you need to do in these situations is you have to recognize there's only one way out, and then you just scout for the rest of the team and see if maybe that'll work after all somehow. So I should have used my Volbeat and my Houndstone to somehow try to force, or not force, I mean, I can't really force it, but in this particular matchup, but I should have just done whatever it takes, like maybe the Volbeat uncoring something bad on the Vileplume, on the Umbreon, depending on what he has in the bag and how good of a player he is. He might have revealed more of his team, which could have given me more confidence to Terra Ground Earthquake here. So now in this particular instance, the Houndstone is just gonna hard lose to Umbreon. It won't reveal new information, but the Volbeat potentially could make him go to something new. And then I can see maybe it is more likely that he doesn't have anything that outspeeds Charizard, or it is less likely, or whatever. So now we're gonna see next turn. Obviously, he has something that would just kill my Charizard. Yeah, so if I had been able to scout for this previously, then that would have again changed my play, because then the Terra Ground Earthquake does nothing again. Right? You see how there's so much flexibility that you need to account for. It's really just, it's a statistical numbers game about probability, basically. You just want to limit your opponent's choices. You want to have as much choices as possible. You want to delay the choices that you have to like hard commit to, like the Terra Ground sweep at the end, as much as you can. Basically, it's very complicated thinking about all this stuff. And in this game, I keep saying it was extremely hard. Like, this is as close to an unwinnable game as it practically gets for me. However, it's not 0%, and you have to think about your own games where you will have some disadvantageous games, but you have to still treat them as winnable. Like, it's rarely as bad as this. This is seriously practically unwinnable against a good opponent. Maybe if I hadn't made that Gordor play, I don't know. I could have also used my ore form better, that's for sure, but this is really, really rough. But in your games, try to apply the general stuff I'm talking about, where you do have better options of doing it. This Volbeat, I do believe, could have forced out the information. It's just kind of sad, like, this isn't an amazing example, because even if I had scouted, the result would have just been, okay, well, there's nothing I can do. So in this instant, if I had seen this cross class, the upside is I could have surrendered faster. It would have saved me time. Yeah, and then with the information I did have, though, I should have definitely terrestrialized Terra Ground. And I said no, but obviously, I mean, the turn before I get foul played, so here I could have 2-hit KO'd with Terra Ground Earthquake, and as far as I know here, there is nothing that outspeeds the Charizard, and there's a low chance it can break through the enemy team. So the problem is I get baited with the Flare Blitz recoil. So I would have probably died at some point, but I could have made progress and then potentially won the game. I mean, you never know, right? I have it, so at least if the Umbreon is dead, maybe if he sacks other stuff, the Volbeat can somehow do something against the Vileplume, especially if he misplays, I don't know. But yeah, I think that's practically it. I can maybe pause the recording and see if there's anything else important in this replay, but maybe the take-home message for now is there are a lot of key moments where you have to switch up your strategy dynamically. Turn 1 is always that, because you don't have a strategy formed yet. Always look at your team. Turn 1, identify your win conditions, identify problems. on the enemy team, what you always want to do is assign some kind of value to your Pokemon, right? Like my Volbeat and Townstone are worthless in this game, so I could have used them to scout for information, which I didn't do. The enemy Umbreon and Vileplume are extremely high danger threats on the enemy team, so I should have done it. And I did more or less do that. Everything I can do, right, to take those out, and that also includes pretending like they're not threats. You have to bluff sometimes to win games, okay? It's very much so an information management game if we're talking random battles, also other regular formats, but whatever, that's a different matter entirely. Yeah, but I think that's pretty much it. I'm gonna pause, see if there's anything else that strikes me as important, first of all. Okay, actually, I'm kind of back with one more small detail. This also makes a difference. Now, in these longer, more stally games, I already talked about the importance of information management, of course, but now I want to look at one little thing. You see this? This is the moment where I know I'm fucked, and now look at this. This is the moment where I actually attempt to do something about it. If you look at the state of the game between this moment and the other, nothing changes about the game state. I reveal information and absolutely nothing changes about the game state of my opponent. It's completely irrelevant to him. So I make a bunch of plays here that are entirely useless. Like this is absolutely nothing. So, and why that happens is also, look, let's not be too harsh because it's a really rough situation. It's very difficult to think all this stuff while I'm also live commenting and stuff, commentating and stuff. But essentially, it's wasted turns. I give my opponent first of all time to stealth rock, so I rapid spin here, right? On the Umbreon, and just do a bunch of random stuff that I should have known wouldn't do anything. He just gets up his rocks again. Not that that matters much, but it's a small disadvantage, and I reveal my Girder for no reason. We already talked about that. And I also took a little bit of chip. Like it's the same thing. So my enemy is in the exact same position. I'm in a worse position. That's all just because I failed to identify that all of this would ultimately, no matter what happens, lead to this turn. So we could have skipped this entire section. This entire section I could have skipped and I would have been in a slightly better position. You need to think about that. Like, don't waste turns. Time is important even if not much happens. You don't want to give your opponent time. As soon as you recognize something has to happen, just get it out of the way sooner rather than later. Yeah, but I think that's pretty much it now. So I do hope you learned something at least, and I hope it's not too difficult to apply this to your own games because, as I said, usually games will be more manageable, more winnable than this one. And maybe if I find a better applied example of actually using these strategies to win in a game where it's not fucking impossible, then I might make another one of these videos. If there's some kind of other strategical concept I want to explore in the future that I run into in some of my games, or just other really interesting games, I can do that as well. I can also let the full game run out. Maybe I'll think about doing something like that as well, like going really in depth about every single turn, but I don't know. I think that's maybe a bit trivial. So yeah, anyway, that's that.